gonna go to jail. Probably time to do something about that. Yes, it is finally time to do something about the exhaust on this Lightning. Man, it's windy today. Let me try and hide behind the old Super Duty here. Lightning has not been on the channel for a couple weeks or a month. I think in the last video we finished getting the front end all back together, built a custom set of projectors using those Harley Davidson housings, finished up the fog lights, refinished the grills, new emblem, got everything back together there. This thing is looking insane. Unfortunately, construction on the road, this thing is once again filthy, and I've basically been daily driving it because the Mercedes is still down. Yes, don't know what's wrong with it. Someday I'll have time to dig into it more, but anyways, this has been bothering me for a long time, basically since I bought the truck. I mean, at some point someone tagged something with the exhaust. If you guys remember in the body shop video when we repainted like half of this truck, we had to fix that Lightning specific valance that goes here. So that's all set to go, but I haven't wanted to put it back on because this is bent to the point that it was pushed into it and would damage it again. So I know it's been bothering you guys that piece is missing. Trust me, it's been bothering me too, but I got a plan. Obviously, we got to fix this exhaust tip. You guys know me. I figured while we're in there, why not change up the whole exhaust? We'll get a better look at it later, but basically the setup is long tube headers to a Bassani catback on this thing. Most of the mods in this truck were done in 2009, so I think it's an older Bassani catback. So it basically goes from the headers into one huge muffler and then two out the side here. And to be completely honest, it doesn't sound all that great. At hot idle, it sounds halfway decent. The idle comes down, it lopes pretty good, and at wide open throttle, it sounds pretty good too, but it's everywhere else that it really doesn't, in my opinion, sound that good. And revving is part of that too. It sounds pretty good at wide open. It's just, you know, or I wasn't wide open, but, you know, partial throttle is where I don't really like it. It's, you know, wide open or close to it sounds halfway decent. Yeah, okay. It sounds good. It sounds good at wide open. All right, you got me. You got me. But, you know, partial throttle, which is where you drive the truck most of the time, it's hard to hear it in here, but it kind of sounds like meh. It kind of sounds like a 1987 Glastron bow rider idling or revving out of the water. Or a wet towel flapping in the wind. And this is my first second-gen Lightning, but I think that these trucks in particular are difficult to get the sound right for a couple of reasons. The first one being the exhaust dumps right out by the bed, which makes it shorter. Because theoretically, these should sound the same as like, you know, a 2-valve Mustang, so a 99 to 04 Mustang GT. Basically a very similar single overhead cam motor, but they sound way different. And I think that's because A, like I said, the exhaust is shorter, and B, well, 3 reasons. So B, I think that a lot of times the pipes are uneven as they come, you know, one side comes off the driver's header is longer than the passenger side one. And I can show you this when we're under the truck. And the third one is a lot of guys don't do an X pipe. I think a lot of guys come right off the headers into some mufflers and then out the side, which kind of gives it like a blat sound. It's hard to describe that, but a lot of you guys will probably know what I'm talking about. But it sounds not refined. And so the sound has always kind of bothered me since I bought the truck. The tip is smashed in, so I've been kind of marinating up in the old noggin here, an exhaust setup, for 6 months now. And I finally got some time today and tomorrow, I think, to put it together, not only fix the exhaust tips, but make this thing sound hopefully a lot better. But right now I'm out running some errands. Got my Dunkin's coffee kit, little cold brew. And I got to get some stuff for this truck. I'm just out running errands. I got to do an oil change in this thing. I changed oil in Florida before I drove it 1,500 miles, and I think I put another 1,000 or 1,500 on it. And it's not terrible, but might be at another dyno soon in this thing, and I just want to keep up on it. So we're going to do an oil change in this. Got to grab some other stuff for some other vehicles. So let's get some stuff. Let's go back to the house. Let's wash this thing since it's filthy, and I can't be working on filthy stuff. Then I got to shuffle some cars around in the garage so I have room for this thing, and then we can get to work and I can show you some of the goodies I got for this thing. So errands, wash, shuffle, mods. Ready, break. Okay, we're back from break. Just undo the brake and then we'll re-brake. I think that I've talked about this in previous videos, but this boost gauge has always kind of bothered me because the needle is faded. And as I learned with this gauge right here, you can't take these apart, this style autometer. So I had painstakingly masked and painted this one silver, which I think was worth it. And this one's not faded because this one used to be up here on the bezel. So I just went ahead and bought a brand new boost gauge. So I'd like to get that installed. So we'll add that to the little list there somewhere after the wash, in between pulling the truck in. We'll just swap in this boost gauge. It hopefully should be just, you know, the wiring and vacuum line's already done, so hopefully just to swap in, but let's get that done as well so that all of our orange face gauges will match. Somebody call Paul Wall, because we're sitting sideways. Well, that was hairy at best. Truck is up in the air. Took a little finagling to get it up there safely, but I'm comfortable with the way it is now. Right off the bat, elephant in the room, why aren't you using your lift? Put it simply, I just don't trust it. This is I think it's called the Universal Lift 7000, or I'm sorry, Universal Lift 2 or TL 7000. I get asked all the time, what's the height in my ceilings? It's like 8 foot 9 inches or some obscure number that doesn't allow for a regular lift. Anyways, I guess I trust the lift itself, but it calls for a minimum of 4 inches of concrete, and my slab is right at 4 inches. So I put in a factor of safety, what do you call that, 2? Factor of safety of 2. I usually put at max like 3,500 to 4,000 pounds on this thing, like the Mercedes basically is like the heaviest I'll put on here just to be extra safe. According to Google, this thing weighs 4,600 or 4,700 pounds, so I'm just not comfortable with it. And also, because it's a truck, even just on jack stands, we only got a couple feet more. So basically, we wouldn't even get that much more lift height if we were to use the lift. So I tried to use my quick jacks, which are rated for 5,000 pounds, so basically right at the limit, and they pretty much stopped, once the truck got off the ground. And just for fun, I thought, let's see what happens if I pull up on this wheel well just a little bit, and what do you know, the whole thing lifted up and got all the way up to the lock position. But to be honest, I wasn't super happy with how stable it was. That's a heavy truck, kind of high up in the air for those, basically platform jacks. And the F-150 frame is weird. Like, I had to basically have the pucks up under the control arm because the frame kind of shoots up back there. There's a very short section here that's actually flat, and it just wasn't really compatible with the quick jacks. So if you're gonna be lifting trucks a lot, I have the 5,000 TL, maybe go with a different, like the 7,000 TL, or there's ones for just specifically for trucks. So ultimately I ended up shuffling in some jack stands. Got the 6-ton ones up front, plus the jack for extra safety, and then basically same thing in the back with the 3-ton ones. So this is about as high as we're gonna get it, and I think it's high enough that we can get this job done. And most importantly, feel safe about it. If you guys are doing this stuff, don't mess around. I mean, you don't wanna get crushed by a car. It's happened, it does happen, so make sure that you're being safe about it. Give it the old push test before you get under it. That's solid, I feel good about that. 4,000 pound truck with basically, what is that, like 18,000 pounds worth of jacks supporting it, or 18,000 pounds of rated jacks supporting it, plus the jack stand, plus the jacks. You know what I'm trying to say. It's safe. I can feel good that I can get under there and kind of move bolts around and tug at stuff if I need to and not have to worry about the truck falling on me. So let's take a look at this exhaust. So get under here, there's our long tubes on either side. They come back, coming around from the driver's side here, meets up with the passenger side, and goes into this huge Bassani muffler. So if you look at most of the newer Bassani muffler, any Lightning Bassani muffler or catback system now, it has like 2 mufflers and maybe even an X pipe, I don't remember. So this has got to be an old system where it goes 2 in, 2 out in one giant like 36-inch or 24-inch muffler. I don't know if there's an internal X pipe or what, but then it comes out 2, kind of loops around and shoots out the broken tips there. So that's the existing setup, but while the oil is still warm, I'd like to get that changed, and then we can unbox the goodies I got for this thing, show you what my plan is, and hopefully get right to work, get to doing some fabrication. Oh yeah, got the boost gauge swapped out. Looks fantastic with that brand new needle, perfectly matches the factory ones and the one over there. Silver bezel here, swapped out the AEM wideband with the silver bezel as well, so everything in here looking tidy. Nice. So yeah, let's drop the oil, put in some fresh Brotella, and cross that off the list, and then get to the goodies. Okay, so oil change is done. We got 6 quarts of Brotella down the hatch there and a Motorcraft filter in the bottom. Should be good to go. More importantly, look at these goodies. So you guys saw the B-roll footage. We've got some beautiful Corsa mufflers here. And I don't think I've ever heard a 2nd gen Lightning or any Lightning with Corsa mufflers on it before. So I might be the first, who knows? But I've always been a huge fan of Corsa products. I had Corsa mufflers back on my C6 Z06 hiding in the back there many years ago when it was still the original LS7 motor, and there was nothing like it. It was just hard to describe how good it sounded. It sounded like an exotic but American muscle at the same time. And it didn't drone, and that is what Corsa is huge on. So I drove this truck 1,500 miles home from Florida, and with the gears that are in the rear and doing 75, 80 miles an hour, this thing droned pretty bad. When I did the interior in this thing, I added a bunch of that kill mat stuff that helped a little bit, but I think it's just the dynamics of the fact that the exhaust dumps right behind the cab, and I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of frequencies and resonances and stuff going on there that made this setup drone. So I kind of started researching, how do I make this truck sound awesome at idle and wide open, but also not drone on the highway? And the conclusion that I came to was Corsa. These guys have invested so much money in their mufflers to make them sound awesome, not only at idle and wide open and part throttle, but not drone. 25 years, Corsa has been perfecting the science of sound using acoustic technologies. They use no drone RSC or reflective sound cancellation technologies. Bottom line is, these guys have invested a lot of engineering and R&D into making stuff sound good, but not drone. So these are their Pro Series mufflers. I got them in a 3-inch variety, in on the bottom, out on the bottom, but they offer them, in multiple different configurations depending on what you're looking for. And the reason I went with these is obviously because there is no exhaust kit for this truck, so I'm going to be fabricating my own. And this is what's crazy. Look at what kind of black magic science is going on through here. This looks like a straight through piece of pipe, save for whatever the heck that thing is. So there's some sort of black magic science that's above my pay grade going on up in here that Corsa has figured out that is going to allow these things to sound awesome, but hopefully not drone. Of course, they're all 304 stainless steel, beautiful welds, just a really good looking muffler. So huge shout out to Corsa for helping me out with this project. I think it's gonna sound awesome, and I'm so excited to get them on the truck. Link will be below for these mufflers, and you guys can check out application specific products that they have. Like for example, the C6 Z06, you got a catback that'll bolt right up to that. Or if you wanna fabricate your own, plenty of mufflers as well. Also, gonna see if I can add an X pipe. So I just decided to buy a universal 304 stainless 3-inch X pipe. I think this one is from, Speed Engineering? Same brand of headers I have on the 69 Camaro. I've got miles and miles of 304 stainless steel pipe from previous projects like this one, and the C6Z twin turbo has 3-inch down pipes. Point being, I got plenty of 3-inch stainless steel pipe to fabricate multiple exhausts at this point. So this, along with some stainless steel V-bands and other clamps that I've got, I'm hoping to go from the mid-pipe, the existing mid-pipe, to an X-pipe, to the mufflers, and then out to some brand new, I think these are 4-inch. Ordered them so long ago. I think they're, 3-inch to 4-inch or 4.5-inch, I don't know, but they're double wall 304 stainless tips. I've always been a fan of the double wall setup, and I think that these things coming out right here, angled with the body, shoo, what an upgrade that is going to be to these beat up old Bassani, tips here. So that's the plan that I've had up in the old noggin for the past like 3 or 4 months. Finally ready to execute. And the first thing we got to do is get that old exhaust out. I've sprayed down the bolts with PB Blaster, so hopefully they don't put up too much of a fight, but let's get that down, start brainstorming, get out the chop saw, get out some fab tools, and start building us an exhaust. Little bit tight under here, so I apologize for that, but let me bring you up to speed. So muffler is out. I've got my repaired exhaust valance back on, held up with a jack, along with the original Bassani pipes there, which are in nice shape except for this dent. But hey, not the end of the world. No one's gonna see that. My plan here is I would like, if possible, to reuse all of this. Like I said, it's gonna save me a bunch of cutting and welding and fabrication and time if I can reuse that. The problem is we've got only 28 inches, maybe 29 between, about here and about here. Basically the straight section. That's about the length of that original muffler. The problem is this X pipe, as it sits, and these mufflers, which I think due to space are going to end up going in the truck or under the truck, kind of, God, it's hard to do with one hand, but sideways like that. Should look nice. But the problem is this whole thing is about 40 inches in length. So I need to trim out somehow 11 to 12 inches to fit this in place of that. Which, by the way, if we take a look inside, it's easier to see from the other side. Let me flip it over. Does appear to have some sort of internal X pipe. Although it's all baffled and stuff. It's hard to see. This thing weighs a ton. Either way, I think this is going to be a much cleaner setup. True X pipe with no baffles, and then two beautiful 3-inch Corsa mufflers. So this is, I don't know, I'm not a fabricator. I'm just a guy in his garage that's built a couple exhaust systems. At this point, I think I'm going to do what I do with most fabrication projects, and that's get out the bandsaw, chop saw, sawzall, just start cutting, seeing what fits. I'll probably remove those two pieces that are right off the headers so I can lop off a little bit of the straight section there, give me a little bit more real estate, and basically try and fit that section in where the old one was. Then once we get that, we can just lop off those tips, weld on my new ones. Sounds easy, but it's probably going to take all day and maybe tomorrow too. So let's get to work. Unbolting this piece right here, the crossover, primary O2 sensor, backing out, finger tight, same thing on the other side. Glad I found that. We'll get those tightened up while we're down here.
Come back here!
But something looks wrong. I mean, he's running around like he's on fire.
Oh my God, help me! I don't want to die!
I don't think I've ever done a fab project that wasn't messy. That's how you know it's a good one. Shoo! Look at that. Here is where we are at, boys. This took many, many hours. Just this part alone took me hours. Just to get this section right here where I could get the X pipe up, because there is such limited room for the mufflers here, which as you can see I've decided to mount basically upside down because it's the only way there's room. And in this angle it might look like they're hanging kind of low, but it's actually basically level with this, you know, basically level with the frame and even higher than this mag high-tech transmission case here. So got the mufflers tucked up nice. It is tight between the drive shaft here and the frame over here, but you can hit them. Nothing comes in contact. A couple pie cuts to get the X pipe right. Everything's just kind of tacked together, V-banded here at the original mid pipes. You can see the mufflers, the clearance to the drive shaft, and the frame over there. Had to remove a heat shield. Not sure if I'll have room to get it back in, but either way, they need paint. They got some surface scaling on them. Got some hangers tacked in there. This thing is solid. So super happy with this so far, but it has taken a long time to get here. Now, we just got to go from there to there. Whew, a little woozy. Stood up too fast. And remember I said I was going to try and reuse these pipes, the original Bassani pipes. I then was like, it's probably just as easy to fabricate my own and just, you know, kind of turn out the mufflers and go out the side. And I said I had miles of 3-inch pipe. And I do, but it's all in bends. The only straight piece I have is under the truck right now, and it's only enough, I think, to do one. So if I am to do it this way, I'm gonna have to cut a bunch of these 180s and just kind of slice a few pieces together, which might look kind of goofy, but, you know, not the end of the world. But I'm kind of back on the Bassani pipe train. These were together, if you guys remember. God, everything is messy. There's just stuff everywhere, but that's the way these projects go. These were welded together via the hanger, kind of like that. But the spacing over here was like 5 inches or something, and the Corsa mufflers, because they're wider, need to be a minimum of like 6.5 or something. So I knew that wasn't gonna work, but I figured, or what I've figured out is, if I cut this off and space these out a little bit, I think I'm gonna be able to make this work. I'm gonna have to cut the slip joints here and probably add some more pie cuts to get the angles right under there. But then I think I can re-weld this together. We'll lop this off, get my new tips on. Hopefully we can clean all this up. I think this is probably 409 stainless, so not as nice as the 304 I have, but man, if it can save me all these bends and welds and, you know, get us a nice clean exit here, I'll take it. So that's kind of where I'm at. Yeah, got to cut those flanges off, get some V-bands on there, I think, and then probably a bunch of pie cuts to get those angles right. But it's getting dark out right now. Evening is kind of settling in. I think it's going to be a late night for me because I have a dyno appointment for this truck tomorrow afternoon, and it's got to have exhaust on it to go to the dyno. So I'm going to put my head down, try and really figure out the angles that I need to get this exhaust looking good, and then once it's all together, probably at least a few hours of burning it all in. You know, right now it's partially tacked together. We'll get the whole thing to get tacked together, make sure the fitment is how we want it, and then just a bunch of welding. But that's kind of mindless. I can get that done. It's the fabrication that takes the brain power and a long time as you're figuring out what's right. This is like a perfect example where it would be helpful to have like 6 hands to hold pipes. I'm like using my shoulder and my elbows and my head to hold pipes while I'm making marks with a Sharpie. It's not ideal under a truck like this. It'd be a lot easier on a lift. And my back is basically raw. Oh yeah, as you guys saw in the B-roll footage, I had a weld nugget when I wasn't wearing my welding shirt come through my shirt here yesterday, burned my shoulder, then it fell down into my back, burned my back, and then I kind of stood up and wiggled and it went down into my pants and burned like basically my hip over here. So it's been fun. It's been a good time, but let's get back to work, get this done, and hopefully get this whole setup tacked up and get the exhaust out the side of the truck. What'd I do with it? Where's that piece? Ah, she tried to roll away on me. Yep, fabricated it myself. Yeah, probably the only Lightning in the country with the dueling tip package. Bassani versus Amazon China dual wall special. Which one do you guys like more? Me and my buddies argue about this all the time. I like the dual wall style on most vehicles. And some of my buddies like these, single wall 1980s truck tips on everything. So let me know what you guys think. Anyways, a couple hours later, I managed to make these old pipes work. And it turned out really good. Again, a lot of trial, error, fitment. The tack welds are ugly because I welded this one in the wrong spot, blew through a couple times, but it'll all clean up. I will be cleaning up these pipes to match the rest of it, but I don't think I'll have time to do that tonight. But we are complete from the headers all the way out to the exhaust valance that is finally back on. This tip is probably about where it's going to be. This one I'm leaving. I'm thinking I'm going to do something like this to get it to match the angle correctly. But I think I'm going to weld these two last and get the tips all situated. I'll probably try and reuse that hanger. There was a hanger right here. Sorry, you guys can't really see. There was a hanger right here, and I took it out because we instead added this one here. I think I'm going to try and make one work that comes off of like here and basically supports the tips so that they're not just kind of bouncing around like that. Oh! I wonder if there was a time where I could sit up like that without making noise. Mid-30s are hitting. But I'm going to do the tips later because those of you guys who weld or fabricate know a lot of times when you're welding stuff, your final welding stuff, you put a lot of heat in one area. It can pull stuff and shift stuff and warp stuff. Hopefully not. You want to try and move around, let stuff cool, don't overheat your parts so that stuff doesn't, move too much. There's nothing worse than a project like this where everything fits together perfectly when it's tacked together and then you weld it up and nothing fits anymore. So take your time, move around with your welding, and we should be good to go. But the point being, I'm going to do the X pipe and mufflers and then install those completely, and then I'm going to basically finish the tips in that last hanger, and then I'll finish weld that. But the X pipe and mufflers are the priority anyways because I got a dyno appointment in like 16, 18 hours, and I should probably sleep a little bit tonight. So yeah, Thursday night football's on. Looks like we got Bengals, Ravens tied up. Time to kind of zone out, put the welding helmet down, and just start, melting stuff together, stitching it together. As Biggie said, stick and move, stick and move. All right, let's get to work. Oh boy. It's dark out. And no, it is not the same night. It is the next day. And no, we didn't make it to the dyno. Truck is still up on jack stands. I stayed up till the wee hours this morning welding up that X-pipe muffler setup. There was probably 3 or 4 hours of welding just on that alone. Some really difficult areas to get into because that X-pipe was really tight. Tried to wake up early, knock out as much as I could. About noon rolled around. I was gonna have to leave by 1:30 and I wasn't even close. So I messaged my tuner, said, hey, I'm just not gonna make it. I don't wanna rush. And now it is like 6:20, 6:30 the next night. And I'm just now getting it back together, but I'm glad I took my time. It looks awesome. Check out these tips. We finally have that exhaust valance back on. Don't have a smashed in tip. These dual wall 4-inch, I think, tips look incredible. Really took my time making sure they're level. They follow the exhaust valance there. I'm friggin' jazzed up about that. Finally, I've owned this truck for like, what, 7 months now, and it finally has exhaust tips that look right on it. Just now noticing these Bassani ones, first of all, they weigh a ton, but they've got little baffles in them. I think you can remove them. I wish I had done that, but it brings the exhaust diameter down to like 2 inches. And then this one that was smashed in, it's like 1.5 inches. So that was probably quieting the truck down a little bit too. I still have some finish welding to do on those tailpipe pieces, and I still need to polish and clean up the original Bassani pipes just so they match everything and, you know, to kind of satisfy my OCD, but I'm ready to be done. It was like a 10, 12-hour day yesterday and probably a 10-hour day today. This project was a lot of hours. Custom exhaust and fabrication always is. Cutting, welding, measuring, redoing what you just did. It just takes a lot of time. So I'm ready to call it quits tonight, go in, have a beer, kick my feet up, but I gotta hear how this thing sounds. So I threw the pipes on real quick, tightened up all the clamps, double checked the oil, since we haven't started this thing since then. And yeah, let's finally see how these Corsa mufflers sound, my X-pipe, and see if all this work was worth it. Oh, good God. What have I done? That is loud. Maybe it's just because we are just in the garage here, but that is loud. And I mean, the Corsa mufflers are, like I said, they're a straight through design. It's supposed to be loud at idle and hopefully not drone. I guess we'll find out, but we got to finish welding this thing up, but I'm psyched about that. It already sounds better. It looks a ton better. All 3-inch stainless, 304, TIG welded together. Oh, can't wait to get this thing on the ground and hear it, you know, revving, and especially once it warms up and that idle comes down, hear that thing chop. So, but I'm beat. Garage looks like a bomb went off. I can't find anything. There's metal shavings everywhere. Every part of my body hurts, so I'm gonna grab a, looks like we got a Coors Light. The mountains are as blue as that toolbox. Where the hell is it? There. And have one of those, and I will catch you guys tomorrow. It's either coffee or beer. I never even know anymore. You guys probably, you can never tell if it's morning, nighttime, whatever. In this case, it is the next morning. Yesterday had some other stuff to do, spent a lot of the day just kind of finishing up various odds and ends, but the truck is back on all fours. The exhaust is finally 100% done. Got the tailpipe sections finish welded. Looking really, really nice. You know, almost can't even tell that we used exhaust pieces there. Also fabricated this whole hanger setup here for the tips, utilizing completely quote unquote recycled pieces from the old Bassani setup. So this exhaust is exactly how I imagined it. Sock rolled, looks so good. I'm absolutely in love with that look right there. It's good to finally have that exhaust piece back on. More importantly, you know, tips that aren't smashed in. I took those Bassani tips to the dump yesterday to recycle those, so RIP. They had a good 15 years or so of service. Also got the driver's side piece back on. This has been off since I painted the truck, and I took it off because we were painting this bedside and figured there wasn't any use in putting it back on if we were missing the other side anyway. So got both of those back on. Double checked all my fluid levels. And we were good to go. Also, I was reviewing the footage from the other night when we did the first start, and this keeps happening. I really got to get better about this. The truck connected to Bluetooth on my phone, which stopped the recording, so you guys missed some of the commentary, but it was basically along the lines of, holy crap, this thing's loud. It sounds insane. I can't believe it. But that's exactly what we're looking for, that iconic, hollow Corsa sound at idle. Now we just got to see what it sounds like once it warms up, once the idle comes down, and also see how it sounds revving and, you know, under load. So it's cold this morning. This winter is kind of making its way in here into New England. So let's start this thing up, back it, get it outside for the first time in like a week, and see how it sounds in the real world. She is rowdy. All right, let's see if we can inch our way out of this construction site driveway and hear how this thing sounds when it's warmed up. It's already starting to chop a little bit. RPM, it's basically silent in here. Be curious to see at like 2000 once the torque converter locks. But very, very comfortable now, which is insane with how loud it is outside. I like it. I like it. Oh wow, we are like out of fuel. I should turn around immediately, go get some of that. Alright, well there's cruising 60 right now. Very reasonable inside the cab. going, Corsa. Already less drone than the Basanis. It's loud though, like at idle and everywhere else. Give it a little throttle after we get some fuel. Oh man, make no mistake, this thing is rowdy. I guess I should have expected that with the fact that the muffler is basically a straight through pipe with some sort of weird black magic resonance thing, but it's quiet at cruising, but if you get into it, oh, I'm gonna go to jail. What the hell was that? What have we done? Shoo! Whoops! Looks like my amateur fabrication is holding up pretty well, though. I don't hear any banging or knocking or clacking, despite the really close, you know, how close the mufflers are to not only the drive shaft, but the frame. Everything's nice and solid. I haven't heard anything other than the exhaust, which is good, I guess, you know? Oh, well, so much for ever hearing that Kenny Bell ever again. Those days are gone. Shoo! Whoa, big bump. Hey, good test for the exhaust though. It didn't bottom out or anything. All right. Morning. Happy Sunday. Yeah, see you in church. All right, let's merge on the highway quick. See what this thing's like at 65, 70, windows up. Well, it's loud getting there, but we're 70 right now and very comfortable. Not bad. Sounds so sick at hot idle. Cam's just chopping like that. So much for washing it. It's covered in an inch of fabrication dust again. But man, this truck is finally coming together. Needs a paint correction, but we'll get there. success. This thing is totally fine, quiet, cruising around. No drone yet that I can hear, and sounds like all hell has broke loose at anything above quarter throttle. And it chops just like I wanted it at idle. I don't know, did Corsa do too good of a job? Like, it literally sounds straight piped at wide open. It sounds like, you know, you're at Nascar. It's insane. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't know. But so far, I love it. But I like to give exhaust setups, you know, a week or two before I decide if I love or hate them, because, you know, you got to give it some time, some actual real miles to see if it's too loud or too quiet. But so far, this is good. This was the goal. I mean, this is not my daily driver. Well, you know, kind of is until I fix the Mercedes. But, you know, it's okay if it's a little loud. It's a second-gen Lightning. It's supposed to be loud. 5.4 supercharged. Plain, as usual. Well, guys, that is going to do it for the exhaust video. This was a long one. That was like 2 full days worth of work, and I think it was worth it. The thing sounds insane at idle, even more insane at wide open, and seems to be pretty bearable when cruising. I know it didn't really do any full throttle, but I got a dyno appointment in 2 days. And we're going to see what this thing sounds wide open on the rollers, and I know the tune will be good. And we can really hear what this thing sounds like at wide open, but I think we got a pretty good idea. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this exhaust video. Finally got the exterior of this thing back together with the valance, got it sounding right, looking right, making progress. So give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Catch you in the next one.